Live from Sayville Studio, this is Between the Shelves. Welcome. This is your host, Alex, and this week I'm joined by Peter.
Hello, thank you.
In this episode, we're going to be highlighting our vinyl record collection. So we're going to try something a little new. We're going to be spinning some records live here on the episode. So I apologize ahead of time if you have any audio hiccups or anything. So this is the first time we're trying this, so this should be fun. So before we start spinning some records, let's talk about the vinyl collection just really quickly. Peter, you curated the collection, right? With Tim,
Tim.
The head of he was the head of adult services at the time. Now he's the assistant director. So how did you go about building the collection?
We tried to get something from, of course, just like with the CD collection, you have to kind of skew to what's more popular. So there's, of course, more rock and pop, but we tried to get something from all different genres, things from different time periods, and, some current records, some old records, a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I will say it was really hard picking the records out for this episode that I wanted to play, not because it was hard to find any good choices. There were too many good choices. So I think you and Tim did a great job selecting records. There's a lot of hits on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you're going to hear a lot of hits today on this episode, listener. So let's get started. So the first record I have here is Sufjan Stevens' "Come On Feel the Illinoise," or just Illinois. This record came out in 2005. It's his fifth album. So let's hear it now. This track is called "Tallest Man, Broadest Shoulders."
I count the days, the great frontier, forgiving face the seventh year. I stand in awe of gratefulness. I can't improve forgetfulness. And when I call the patient fall, the spirit, the carpenter, invites us to be returned.
So that is track 20 on Illinois. I actually was fortunate enough to see Sufjan Stevens on tour in 2010 in Boston for his Age of Ads tour, and he played almost this entire album live, and it was incredible. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. So this album, there was a lot of talk about it when it came out. There was a lot of speculation that because this whole album, it's a concept album around the state of Illinois, and a lot of people thought that Sufjan was going to go ahead and make an album for every state in the country, and he only did one other one, Michigan, before it was his fourth album.
I think he said he was going to.
He did?
Yeah, but then obviously didn't. That would
Yeah,
have been
he just did the two.
50 albums.
But man, this album is fantastic. It's one of my totally favorite albums.
I love this album too. I didn't know you were choosing it, but this is a great one.
Yeah, I got first dibs at the vinyl record, so yeah, great album all the way through. Lots of great instrumentals. Very out there. Great. And I don't even know how to classify this album. Indie, but very experimental. Yeah, big production. Very fun.
Great choice, Alex.
Thank you very much. All right, Peter, do you have what do you got next?
Got one here.
So everything we're playing, by the way, today, you can check out from the library. We have it on vinyl, and the record player we're playing the vinyl on, actually, you can check out as well.
Okay, so I'm loading up the next one. If I can find, there we go. So this is one of my all-time favorite albums. It's a band called the Cocteau Twins, and to give you a little background for people who aren't familiar with them, they are a Scottish band started in the 80s, and their early albums were quite dark, kind of goth albums, but they always had something special. There was something different about it. Mostly the singer Elizabeth Fraser has a very unique, beautiful voice, and her delivery at that time was a little more aggressive than it became. This is kind of considered by a lot of people their best album. It's called Heaven or Las Vegas. And this is what became to be known as dream pop. When I was in the 90s, they called it ethereal music, but this is the first track on the album, and this is kind of considered their mature style when they became something other than kind of a second tier goth band, even though I really like those early ones. This song is called Cherry Colored Funk. So this album, you probably hear like the lyrics are pretty much unintelligible, and that's something that comes from the singer is like intensely shy, and she didn't want anybody to know what she was saying, and they never printed the lyrics, so she would intone them in a way where she would kind of put the emphasis on different syllables, so it's very difficult to understand what she's saying, which is by nature. So essentially it's just the voice is another instrument, another sound, instead of, even though she is often saying something. The album after this was the first one where she sang a little more straightforward. You can hear the lyrics, but I just love this album. It's really beautiful, and they were a very influential band for a lot of the bands that came in the 90s, so one of which we'll talk about later.
I really like this. This reminds me of, have you heard of the band Beach House? Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of Beach House.
Yeah. I'm sure Beach House probably are fans of Cocteau Twins. This album's from 1990, but they started, I think the first album was from 1980, so this is a great starting place if you're looking. Also the only one we have at the library, so I recommend it.
Yeah, come in and check it out. Raise that demand, and maybe we'll buy some more. Yep. Yeah. All right, great. I love that. So, quick aside, I didn't mention that I actually used to have a radio program in college. We were Ugly Radio, and I had to go back into my notes because I forgot what our time slot was and our DJ names and everything. And I did it with my buddy Ian. Shout out to Ian. And we were on Thursdays from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. WRIU, University of Rhode Island College Radio. Shout out WRIU.
I'm very jealous. I always wanted to be a college radio.
It was the highlight of my college experience by far. We did it for about a year and a half, 2009, 2010, around that area. We changed our DJ names every episode. So the only ones I remember are DJ Potted Plant and DJ Whiskers. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Just a tiny studio. The entire building was empty. It was like the community or the student center or something. So we were just completely left alone at night on an empty college campus, and we could just do whatever we wanted. It was so much fun. And when we started, we just played music, and we probably just introduced the songs, and then as we went on, we got more comfortable, and we ended up just talking most of the time. Probably played like a half a dozen songs in 3 hours. Okay, here we go. Found it. All right, so the next song I'm going to be playing is for... can you help me out, Peter? Yeah. Sorry. So the next album is Odessey and Oracle by the Zombies. So this is a throwback to the 60s. This came out in 1968. It's the second album by the Zombies. The Zombies have a special place in my heart. I've always liked them. My brother's a big fan. My dad has their records, and my wife is a big fan of the Zombies as well, and she actually played the song that I'm about to play here for, I think it was like an Instagram story or something, and it really brought back a lot of memories. So I'm going to play that track here now. It is not the song you probably think I'm going to play, which is Time of the Season, which was the hit from this album. I'm going to be playing This Will Be Our Year. This is track 3, I believe, on side 1. Okay, there.
This will be our year, took a long time to come. And I won't forget the way you helped me up when I was down. And I won't forget the way you said, darling, I love you. You gave me faith to go on. Now we're there, and we've only just begun. This will be our year, took a long time to come. Smile, smile for me, little one. And this will be our year. Took a long time to come. You don't have to worry, all your worry days are gone. And this will be our year. Took a long time to come. And I won't forget the way.
So the Rolling Stone magazine had they do like the top 500 albums of all time list every couple of years. And the last time they ran this list, or the last time I could find it at least, they had this album ranked at number 100. The top 500 albums of all time. So it's a great album all the way through, but Time of the Season's the track everyone knows, but this one's my favorite.
Yeah, I've been aware of the Zombies. I know that song, but I've never actually, listened to any of their album tracks or anything. So
they're not a deep cut, but they're one of the lesser known, I guess, bands from the 60s that don't get enough praise. All right, that's what I got.
Great. Well, I load the next one. I'll just mention that I actually, one of the reasons I was one of the people who was in charge of choosing these records for the collection is because I am a big record collector myself. I have a little over 2,000 at home, so this is like kind of my obsession, so it's pretty cool that I get to do this today. I wrote down the song, the side this was on, but I'm wrong because apparently it's not.
I'll vamp while you're trying to find the side. So I'm just curious, vinyl records, I have the note here. They just passed CD sales for the first time since CDs were introduced, basically, like 30 years recently, last year. So what do you think's behind like this huge record resurgence?
I mean, to me, I'm not really an audiophile. Like I know certain people say and I think there's some truth to that. There's a different kind of presence to the sound when it's being produced physically by a needle dragging across vinyl, instead of ones and zeros, but for me it's more of a tactile thing. I like the object. I really like a lot of record labels growing up that were really well known for their packaging. Cocteau Twins is on label 480. You can see the listener can't, but they were known for they have like. His name was Vaughn Oliver, who was their graphic designer. He designed all their things. And there's another label from that time, Factory Records, that they did Joy Division, New Order, and they had Peter Saville was their designer. And I just got really into like the beauty of the object. And, also I'm old. So in the late 80s, I started buying records because there was a 12-inch single that you could get, and it was like a full-size record, but it was just a single. So there would be on one side an extended dance remix of the song, and on the back side there were 2 B-sides instead of just one that you get on the 7-inch. So I discovered that at like Sam Goody at the mall, and I started buying the 12-inch singles. So that's kind of how my obsession with collecting records started.
The pairing of visual art with audio art was kind of a lost art. I think that's what's kind of helping it come back, because it is like, I'm looking at the records that I have out in front of me, like every album cover is iconic.
Yeah.
it's the album cover is almost a lost art.
Yeah.
It seems.
So I mean, like, it bothers me too. Like, if you listen to something on Spotify, they don't include liner notes. So you're like, you wonder. I have to Google it. Like, oh, where was this recorded? Who did this? Or,
lyrics.
Give me some details about this thing, and you can't because they don't include that stuff.
All right. So what do we have next here?
I've got this album is Daydream Nation by Sonic Youth, and I chose this one because I like it. This is kind of in a similar way a bit of a crossover album for them, where they kind of hit is a little more straightforward than their early albums. They started in the what was called the no wave scene in New York, and their early stuff is quite aggressive and heavy, and this is a little bit too. But I also chose it because along with bands like the Cocteau Twins in the UK, bands that were going in the US at a similar time in the early 80s, mid 80s, like Sonic Youth or Dinosaur Jr. were really influential in the type of music that I really liked in the 90s, which is we're going to talk about next. And so these first two albums I'm playing are songs kind of built to what the second two that I'm going to play. So this song is called Candle, and like I said, it's on Daydream Nation. Let's see if I can get it. I might not start right at the beginning of the song. It's the second to last song. It's hard to see on here. So, this album I really like. It's their earlier albums have a very even more aggressive, but also a more experimental kind of side to them, which they always kept. But this album kind of, some of the blunt edges were rubbed off as a little bit more accessible, and they have a sort of, the Cocteau Twins have accomplished a sort of wall of sounds in a way that in a lighter way, and they do the same thing, Sonic Youth, with distortion. And I'm not the world's biggest Sonic Youth fan, but I always I like a lot of music that was inspired by them, and I do like them a lot too. So that's Candle by Sonic Youth from Daydream Nation.
Great choice. I'm glad you picked a more heading towards the rock era, because I had a couple of rock albums coming up, and I didn't want to jump from dream pop to The Clash, or the album that I'm going to play next. So I think this is a good transition. So
I'm interested to see what you're going to play.
It's going to be a surprise. This next album that I'm going to be playing is Doolittle by the Pixies. It is their second album. This was incredibly hard to pick a single track from, because this album is gold all the way through.
Yeah, so not a weak song on the whole thing.
There's no weak song. So let me just list off a couple of these songs. Hey, La La Love You, Wave of Mutilation, Here Comes Your Man, Monkey Gone to Heaven, Dead, and Debaser. All of those songs, in my opinion, are number one hits. Those are all fantastic songs. But the song I chose, I'm just going to start it off with the lead track, track 1, Debaser. Great track. I think it summarizes the feel of the whole album pretty well. Another trivia, Peter, this might make you sad, I apologize. This album came out 4 days after I was born.
I got this album when it was new.
Sorry.
That's all right.
But so I have a little bit of a connection to it. So this was listed number 141 on Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time. And Pitchfork magazine has it listed as the 4th best album of the 80s. So this album I can't recommend highly enough. One of my favorite albums ever. So here we go. Track 1, Debaser. All right, that's Debaser by the Pixies off the album Doolittle. Highly, highly recommend this one of my favorites. Is it fair to say that the Pixies kind of had a resurgence after the movie Fight Club came out?
I think so,
Yeah.
with Where Is My Mind?
Yeah, the movie ended iconically with the song Where Is My Mind, which is that off this album? I don't think it is.
No, that's on the first album.
On the first
Surfer
album,
Rosa,
yeah. But this is probably their best album, I'd say.
It's my favorite, I think, and also, a little trivia, they were on the same label as Cocteau Twins, 4AD.
There you go.
Great which album is why cover. The album cover is so good, and they were the second American band ever signed to 4AD after the Throwing Muses.
There you go. Great album. I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Great track choice, too.
Thank you very much. I was going back and forth between a lot of them. I like Hey a lot. Here Comes Your Man and Monkey Gone to Heaven were their two charting, I think the two singles from this album. Those both charted pretty highly. But Wave of Mutilation I love too. That song was on the game Rock Band, the video game Rock Band, and I would play it non-stop. I think I mastered it on expert on every instrument. I love that song. All right, that's
nice film reference on this song too. A reference to the Luis Buñuel song Un Chien Andalusia.
Oh, that's what they're saying. Okay.
Yeah, slicing up eyeballs. That's what, because in that, I don't know if you've seen that Spanish movie, they actually, it was a special effect, but it looks really real. They slice an eyeball. Okay. I know you're a film buff, so
I am. I'll have to add that to my list. I gotta look at the liner notes to get the proper spelling of it so I can look it up. Yeah. And then hopefully a library has it. We'll see. All right, that's what I got. Peter, what's next? What's coming next?
Okay, so this is band called Slowdive. This is their self-titled album, Slowdive, and they began in the late 80s in England, and they were one of the bands that was inspired by Cocteau Twins, who started in the early 80s, and as well as bands like Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr. from America, and they were part of movement that has become to be known shoegazing, which was something by a critic who referred to that because they had so many effects pedals when they played live, they would be looking down at their feet. So, but you know, it kind of this is the later album that came out. They broke up in I think 1995, and then maybe when did this album come out? 10 years ago or something like that. 2017, 6 years ago, they reformed and did a big tour and put out a new album, self-titled, which actually was the highest selling vinyl record that year, which is weird because they were never a very popular band. When they first released their first EP, they were kind of critical darlings and they did really well first off. But then Britpop happened with Oasis and Blur. And almost all of the bands that were considered shoegaze got dropped by their labels and kind of faded away. But they had made an impression, and a lot of Americans like me at the time, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this song it's called Everyone Knows, and it's on their self-titled album, Slowdive. So yeah, this band might be my favorite band, or one of my top 5 at least, and I just really like this type of music. I feel like they kind of combine the dreaminess of Cocteau Twins, but they've got more of a straightforward rock setup that's a little heavier and more distorted. And
would you consider this lo-fi, or is that?
I think that might just be the speakers on the this record player, but not really. I mean, they I wouldn't consider it lo-fi.
This kind of reminds me of the band Deer Hunter. Do you like Deer Hunter?
Yeah, also on 4AD.
Wow, I'm nailing it.
Yeah, the Deer Hunter are influenced a lot by Slowdive. A lot of the bands from that era. But yeah, Slowdive were not. My Buddy Valentine is kind of considered the ultimate shoegaze band, but Slowdive were coming up around that same time and are one of my favorites of that era.
This sounds a lot like Deer Hunter. I'm gonna say I'm definitely gonna check this out.
Yeah, Deer Hunter definitely owes a lot to Slowdive.
All right, that's great. Yeah, I'm digging this. This is really taking me back to, like my post-college years. I'd hang out at my friend Justin's house, and he had a vinyl record set up, and we just put on vinyl and just hang out. That's another thing that is kind of lost these days. No one sits around at couches and listens to Spotify playlists. Like there's something tactile about having to switch over the side when the record ends,
and it's a little harder to skip a song, so you're more likely to listen to a whole album straight through. I do every morning before work. I have my coffee, I sit in my basement and listen to a record with the cat. I did it this morning.
All right, so this next record is near and dear to my heart. It's actually the first vinyl I ever bought for myself. One of my favorite albums of all time, so I was happy to see it, and not surprised to see it in our collection because it's stone cold classic. Let's see, Rolling Stone had it listed as high as 8th on their top 500 albums of all time. This is London Calling by The Clash. Another album that's incredibly hard to pick just one track to play off of. This has Train in Vain, London Calling, Clamp Down. I can go on and on. Guns of Brixton's one of my favorites, Spanish Bombs. But I decided to go with one of the first tracks that really led me to this album, which is Rudy Can't Fail. So this album is, it's a seminal punk rock album, but it also kind of bridged the way for introducing new genres, kind of a blending of genres. So this is kind of, I guess, maybe a pillar of ska or something, punk ska.
Yeah, that early punk was, it all came up in the same neighborhoods in London where there was a lot of Caribbean music, a lot of, so that reggae and dub and what became ska was all mixing, all and you hear that
influencing
in a lot of
one another.
British punk records.
Definitely. So this is definitely has a little bit of kind of reggae influence, I guess you could call it, onto a punk band. So this is Rudy Can't Fail, and this is track 5 on London Calling. that's Rudy Can't Fail by The Clash. Yeah, great song, great album all the way through. Really love it. Do you have any Clash records in your 2008
I have a
records
couple.
collection?
I don't have this one. I've got, I think, Sandinista.
Yeah.
But I like this one better, but I'm kind of a stickler. I don't like buying reissues, and it's hard to find a original.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I would say this is better album than any of the ones that I have.
Yeah, this is like a record you can put on and listen all the way through, and there's just hit after hit after hit. We were talking about album covers earlier. This might be one of the most iconic album covers of all time. It's an homage, I guess you can call it, to an Elvis Presley album.
Yeah.
I don't know which Elvis Presley album it is.
I think it might just be self-titled Elvis Presley.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
But it has London Calling in big bold letters going on the left and bottom in pink and green, and then it has a very iconic photo of the bassist Paul Simonon smashing his instrument live on stage. Great album cover. And the UK actually issued a stamp set maybe a decade ago of the top 10 album covers of all time as stamps, and this was one of them. So
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. That's cool.
that's what I got. So Peter, what's next?
So this next one I'm gonna play is a little bit of a slight self-promotion. This is a band I used to be in. It's my friend's band. I actually play chimes on one song on this album, but they're still going, and I donated this record to our collection, but I think it's really good.
Yeah, listeners, you can't see this obviously, but it's on a very cool.
It's like a
translucent magenta.
purple magenta vinyl, yeah. And I think it's got a cool cover.
I
too.
like
It's
that
called
album.
Bells in New Towns. The band is called Landing, and they're friends of mine that I met in college back in Utah. But they're from the main person, Aaron Snow, who's in it. He's from Connecticut, and we eventually, most of us all moved out here. And when I was in library school in Connecticut, I joined the band. I play only on one of their albums called Brocade. But this is their most recent album. It came out, I don't know. I don't see the date really handy, but maybe 5 years ago or something like that. I think Landing would consider themselves a genre that kind of started in the late 90s. That was known as space rock, and it's influenced by shoegaze from England, but it's also influenced by 60s psychedelic music as well as 70s krautrock from Germany. This song is more on the sort of ethereal, dreamy shoegaze side, but some of the songs on this are heavier with a more kind of psychedelic thing. But this one is called Fallen Name. So I kind of sad that I wasn't on this record because I think it's a really good album.
Yeah,
and,
I dig this.
Just to kind of talk about the music a little bit. I mean, it's easy to hear like the shoegaze dream pop element. Some of the songs have a little more heavier like guitar and bass that feel like more 60s psychedelic sort of style. But I really like the ties to I find to 70s krautrock are mostly in the drums. They call it a motoric beat, where it's a very simple beat that just keeps repeating, and there's only like a occasional fill. It's not flashy at all, but it produces like a very hypnotic effect.
Yeah.
And I think on this album in particular that's present in Landing. This song maybe is not a great example of that particular thing, but I thought it fit with the other records I played a little more, and it was at the beginning of the record, which made it easier to start.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Cool. Awesome. I really like it. Since we're getting away from the punk rock scene, I think it's an appropriate time to play some jazz. So this album here is maybe the most popular jazz album of all time, or up there. It was the first jazz album to ever sell 1 million copies, I can tell you that much. And the album is Time Out by the Dave Brubeck Quartet.
Also another great album cover.
Yep, another iconic album cover, yes. I could play the title track, I could play Take 5, which is the song that everyone has heard 1 million times, but I decided to do a different track. I'm going to play the first track, which is called Blue Rondo a la Turk. This is the first track that you hear when you start the album, and I don't know, it's an album. It's probably my favorite song on the album, and man, it's an earworm. It really sticks with you. So here we go. This is Blue Rondo a la Turk, the first track off Time Out by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. So yeah, that goes on for a few more minutes with lots of very interesting variations on that theme, and that's now going to be stuck in my head all day. I'll be humming it to myself the rest of the day. I mentioned it was the first jazz album to sell 1 million copies. It's also Take 5, the most popular single from this album, was the first jazz single to sell 1 million copies. And in 2005, the National Registry of Historic Works by the Library of Congress added this album to their collection.
Oh wow!
So it's in the National Registry of Historic Works.
Amazing. I've always been interested in jazz, but as someone who can't go halfway, I've just kind of steered clear because I can't I can't go down another road and jazz records are notoriously expensive and hard to collect. So I've had to keep a sort of draw a line there before
so that's a wise decision. Yeah, absolutely. But this is, I mean, if you're interested in getting into jazz, this is a great place to start. This album is all the way through is a classic. 1959 is when it came out. All right, that's what I got. So we just coming to the end here. We each have one album left. Is that right? While Peter's loading it up, I just want to mention some other albums that are in our collection that we're not playing today that are some of my favorites. Animal Collective, Merriweather Post Pavilion, Arctic Monkeys, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not. We have a few Beatles albums, and one that I forgot to bring along was the most recent reissue of Abbey Road, where they remastered the tracks, which is really great. And I think we have the White Album too. I'm not sure, but we have Abbey Road. I know that.
We have a few Beatles records.
The Velvet Underground and Nico, David Bowie, Beastie Boys. I mean, the band, Dirty Projectors, Bob Marley, Pink Floyd, The Roots, Elliott Smith, Talking Heads, and A Tribe Called Quest. So just some of the bands that we have.
And we also have some more contemporary, if there are any young people listening. We have, I think we have a Taylor Swift. We have Lady Gaga, Beyonce, some other newer stuff as well, Olivia Rodrigo. So I try to consider the young people as well, because I know a lot of young people are getting interested in vinyl.
I'm still stuck in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, you just mentioned the Velvet Underground, so my last record I'm going to play is from solo album Chelsea Girl by Nico, who was sort of forcefully introduced to Velvet Underground by Andy Warhol, but for me, like the songs with Nico are my favorite Velvet Underground songs, and there's just something about her. She was a German model that basically Andy Warhol liked her vibe or whatever, and said he was managing Velvet Underground. Said she's gonna be in your band, and she sang, and she has a very interesting what some people have described as tuneless singing, but for me, I just find her so mysterious. I started reading a biography about her, and apparently she was a compulsive liar, and almost everything she ever said in a interview is untrue. I couldn't get through it because it was, and she also was a very tragic person. It was sad, she overdosed on heroin, but I actually became aware of her solo stuff, music from, I think it was from Royal Tenenbaums. I was
just going to say that.
And if I remember, this might be the song they played on there. I can't remember. This is Fairest of the Season by Nico.
They also do
the album.
These Days is also on.
Oh, These Days is the one from Royal Tenenbaums. This might be in another one. This is also one of her more famous songs, The Fairest of the Season. It's all on the album Chelsea Girl.
To know, do I stay or do I go and maybe try another time? And do I really have a hand in my forgetting? Now that I've tried, now that I've finally found that this is not the way, now that I turn, now that I...
So I find myself drawn to, unique voices. It doesn't necessarily matter to me if they're, conventionally good or even on key, but I think there's something so evocative about her voice, which is often flat. But I also think there's something about her solo music that is so of its time. From the 60s, this album is, boy, does it say. I should have looked this up. I didn't do my due diligence, but it came out sometime in the 60s, I believe, late 60s maybe, possibly early 70s, but I just, transports me to a time that, I wasn't born, I'm not that old, but, I've just the idea of her too as this kind of like rail thin 60s model singing these dour songs is, very Andy Warhol and very...
Yeah, it came out in 1967.
67.
Yeah. So The Royal Tenenbaums is one of my all-time favorite movies, like top 4 favorite movies of all time. And just hearing this song right now, I'm getting like choked up because I'm thinking of the scene that's in The Royal Tenenbaums.
I can't remember which scene. I remember These Days as the bus, she's getting off the bus.
This is, I believe, the song they played at the very end at, spoiler alert, A Funeral.
Oh, yeah, I think you might be right.
But These Days is also... I think it's the second track on this album that's also in the Royal Tenenbaums. So that's how I discovered Nico as well, actually, is through that movie. And that movie has a phenomenal soundtrack.
It really
does. You mentioned about she's an unconventional, quote-unquote, singer.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Waits is my favorite artist of all time. And you don't get as unconventional as Tom Waits. So I completely agree with that point that I don't care if you miss a note or whatever, don't sing completely on key. If you have a unique voice and you have unique music, that far outweighs...
Yeah. Interesting is more important than good.
Yes.
or on key.
Yeah, this is a great album. I'm glad you played it. I almost picked the Velvet Underground. That would have been a nice pairing, but I could just listen to this whole album all the way through. We gotta let's keep going. All right, this is my last choice. Peter, do you want to clear the deck for me? This next album I have chosen is This Year's Model by Elvis Costello. This album is his second album. It came out in 1978 or 79. It's not my favorite Elvis Costello album. It's my second favorite. His first album, his debut album, is my favorite. My Aim Is True. I think that album is great all the way through. But this album has one of my favorite songs ever, which was actually not on the original UK release. It was added to the US release as a kind of bonus track, I guess you could call it. The song is called Radio Radio.
My radio advised, with every one of those late night stations playing songs bringing tears to my eyes. I was seriously thinking about hiding the receiver when the switch broke, cause it's old. They're saying things that I can hardly believe. They really think we're getting out of control. Radio is the sound salvation. Radio is cleaning up the nation. They say you better listen to the voice of reason, but they don't give you any choice, cause they think that it's treason. So you had better do as you were told. You better listen to the radio. I wanna bite the hand that feeds me.
All right, that's Radio Radio by Elvis Costello. Fun fact about this song. So this song was actually, okay, so Saturday Night Live, the television show, on their 25th anniversary, had the Beastie Boys come out to play a song, and they started playing, I think, Sabotage or whatever the hit was at the time. And then Elvis Costello storms the stage during their performance and says, no, I'm sorry, we can't play this song. And then Elvis Costello with the Beastie Boys then launch into Radio Radio. And it was one of the coolest moments I've ever seen on TV, and it's on YouTube. You can still watch it. It's absolutely fantastic. And I think, Peter, you're going to say that was actually Elvis Costello did that when he was on SNL. When was that? In the 70s? It must have been.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong about this, he did the same thing. Lorne Michaels or whoever, the big wigs at NBC wanted Elvis Costello to play one track, and then he interrupted that performance live mid-song and then went into the song that he wanted to play, and it was subsequently banned from playing on SNL, I believe, until years later on their 25th anniversary. He was invited back at that moment. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I was wondering when you played this if you were going to tell that story. I didn't remember the Beastie Boys things, but I did know about the original one from the 70s. Yeah,
I had my parents taped the 25th anniversary, so I had it on VHS, and I watched that VHS over and over and over and over again. And I was a huge Beastie Boys fan in the 90s and beyond, so that's how I was like, who's this old guy coming out to sing with the Beastie Boys? Now, he wasn't old. He was probably in his early 50s or something. But yeah, that was a crazy moment, and I love it. And that's how I discovered this track, and now it's one of my favorite tracks of all time.
That's great. I didn't know this wasn't on the album originally either.
Yeah, I think it was originally I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea. And then they added this song to it, or maybe they added both of those songs to the US release. I forget exactly. Is that it?
I got one more.
Okay. Great. We got one more track for you.
So this one is, the last one I'm going to play is The Breeders, who, this is the bass player Kim Deal from the Pixies, who we heard earlier. And she originally, it started off as a side project with her and Tanya Donnelly, who was from the band Throwing Muses, who were also on that same label, 4AD. But then, because of tensions in the Pixies, eventually The Breeders became her main band, and she was kicked out of the Pixies. I did get to see the Pixies on a reunion tour with Kim Deal, though. It didn't last very long because then they started fighting again. But this is probably their most popular album, Last Splash by the Breeders. It has a lot of famous songs on it. Cannonball was their big hit. It was a big hit in the 90s. But they're kind of known for the more heavier, grungier one. But this is the song that's one of the slower ones that I was always drawn to on this album. It is called Do You Love Me Now? And I should have been putting the record on while I said all that, but I wasn't. I was... So just 1 second. It's also another iconic Von Oliver album cover. Okay.
Do you wish you were here? Like I wish I was with you. You loved me before. Do you love me now? Does love ever end? When two hearts are torn away, or does it go on and beat strong anyway? You love me for, do you love me now? Come back to me right now.
Anyway, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. I just like the song. It's a great album, and it was kind of a lesser known. This has some, their most popular songs on it. So, Breeders' Last Splash album available at the library.
Yeah, we'll in the show notes I'll make sure to include every album that we've played, so you can check it out. And I don't know if I mentioned it yet on the podcast, but we have a website now for the podcast. It's sayvillelibrary.org/podcast. And on that website, you can listen to the episodes, but underneath each episode player, I have detailed notes of everything, every book, every album, any movie, anything we talk about with links to our catalog, so you can check it out right there. So I'll make sure to include all the albums we talked about as well there. So that was a lot of fun. I could do this all day.
Yeah, we'll have to do another one in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's plenty of vinyl to choose from. It was hard just narrowing it down to 6 albums. I could easily do this again.
Yeah,
so.
I flipped past lots of other ones that I could have pulled. So.
Yeah, and we'll get Tim on the next one, so maybe he'll have some different choices. But I think our choices mashed up pretty well, I will say. All right, well, that's all we got for this week. So thank you for tuning in. And next week, we're going to be talking about what Peter and I are into. So stay tuned for that. Bye.